Flight 101 Investigations Tone and Format. 9:53. Was the loss of 18 lives in the Hibbing crash the result of an inexperienced pilot's error? 9:57. Captain Marvin Falitz had a reputation as a seasoned aviator. 10:03. But a closer investigation uncovers a deeply troubling history. 10:06. Narrator. A look into his background reveals repeated concerns. So, when we reviewed his training records, we began to notice a pattern. He'd faced difficulties even during his early flight training. 23. Shortly after joining the airline, Falitz failed his oral exam. 10:27. Later, he also failed 2 more proficiency checks. 10:30. Something rarely seen in professional aviation. 10:33. It's very uncommon for an airline pilot to fail this many evaluations. 10:36. What's more alarming? 10:40. These red flags had gone unnoticed by the airline. 10:44. The failures happened at different bases. 10:45. So no one ever connected the dots. 10:49. Until we did. Ominous music builds. 10:52. Several instructors had expressed concern about Falitz's cockpit behavior. 10:54. They noted poor crew coordination skills. 10:58. And a controlling attitude during flights. Oh, he struggled with interpersonal dynamics in the cockpit. 11:06. Are all of these documented complaints against Captain Falitz? Yes. He was actually my first captain after IOE, initial operating experience. 11:14. He had a reputation for being harsh, condescending. 11:19. And intolerant of mistakes. 11:20. Not someone you'd want mentoring a junior pilot. 11:29. That's, shocking. 11:31. Narrator. But perhaps the most unsettling revelation. 11:33. Captain Falitz had once physically lashed out at a fellow employee. 45. An act of aggression. 39. For a commercial pilot to resort to physical violence. 84. Or try to discipline a colleague. Fight. That's simply unacceptable in any professional environment. 11:51. Dramatic score rises. 11:54. What could possibly cause someone to carry so much anger? 12. You've got to be kidding me. 12:2. Narrator. People close to him believed the situation worsened. 12:04. When Northwest Airlink introduced a controversial new policy. 12:07. A pilot residency requirement. 12:12. About a year earlier, the airline decided. 12:14. For budget reasons, that flight crews had to live. 12:17. Near their assigned outstations. 12:19. Small remote towns outside Minneapolis. 12:28. Narrator. But then, another troubling piece of evidence comes to light. 12:29. Captain Falitz was reportedly handling the aircraft. 12:30. With unusual aggression. 12:33. Flying rough, on purpose. 12:39. His way of pushing back against the airline, 12:41, was by making passengers uncomfortable. 12:4. When I read that, I was stunned. 12:46-6. The idea that someone would deliberately make a flight rough. 12:51. To send a message to their employer. 12:55. What's the point of that? 12:57. From what I've been told, 13. He did it as a way of punishing the company. 13:04. Narrator. As more insights surface about the captain's temperament. 13:06. Investigators are left with a haunting possibility. 13. Was his anger a contributing factor in the crash? Kikonena 13. The day after the accident, a charred scar in a frozen Minnesota field. 13.18 marks the impact site of Flight 3272. 13.21. A team from the National Transportation Safety Board is already on scene. 13.24. Piecing together fragments of wreckage for clues. 13.28. Investigators shift their focus to Detroit Metropolitan Airport. 13.30. They want to speak to the last person. 13.31. Who had contact with the doomed flight. 13.42. The air traffic controller handling their approach. 45. It was just before rush hour. 13:50. Bad winter weather. Traffic was building up. 13:51. Narrator ATC confirms worsening weather. 13:52. With multiple aircraft arriving at once. 13:56. I made sure to keep safe spacing between flights. 13:50. Narrator. But there's another factor in play. 14:01. Wake turbulence. 14:04. With aircraft flying in close proximity. 14:07. The swirling air left behind by one plane. 14:09. Can destabilize another. Keeping the original meaning intact but using fresh language while maintaining your signature flight. 101 Investigations tone. A wake vortex is like a horizontal tornado, a swirling trail of turbulence that forms behind an aircraft. 14:19. If another plane flies too close behind. 14:23. It risks encountering intense, unpredictable air currents. 14:31. Let's take a look. This is the Airbus from American West Airlines Flight 50. 14:39. Narrator. That Airbus is nearly twice as large as the Embraer 120. 14:45. Given the size difference, the possibility of a wake vortex affecting the smaller plane can't be ruled out. 14:49. But investigators won't draw any conclusions. 14.51. Until NASA's experts examine the radar recordings. Freak. Suspenseful music builds. 14:59. Well, that answers that. 15:01. Narrator. But it's yet another dead end. 15:03. Turns out, it wasn't caused by wake turbulence. 15:5. Narrator. The analysis proves that the wake, 15:07, generated by Flight 50 couldn't have descended. 15:10. Low enough to affect Comair 3272. 15:15. And just like that, investigators are back to square one. 15:20. Why did 29 people lose their lives? 15:23. Just moments before landing. The answer remains elusive. 15:26. For NTSB Systems Specialist John DeLisi. 15:29. It's one of the most difficult investigations of his career. 15:34. We knew the aircraft was established on final approach into Detroit. 15:36. And something catastrophic happened very suddenly. 15:39. Something failed without warning. 15:43. What a disaster. 15:45. Narrator, NTSB investigator Richard Rodriguez is leading the inquiry. 15:47. Our mission is simple. 15.49. Determine what caused this crash. 15:52. And make sure it never happens again. 15:55. Narrator, Rodriguez is no stranger to the Embraer 120. 15:58. He's investigated previous accidents involving this same aircraft type. 16:03. In one past case in Georgia, 16:07, a propeller blade had snapped mid-flight due to a fatigue crack. 16:10. The crew managed to land the aircraft. 16.42. But it was extremely difficult to control. 16:17. Narrator. In fact, there had been two separate incidents. 16:19, where a blade broke off during flight. 16.22. Could something similar have happened again? 16.26. Rodriguez reviews where both propellers were located. 16.27. Among the debris at the crash site. 29. That's when he notices something unsettling. 16:34. A piece of one propeller blade had landed. 16:37, over 75 feet from the main impact crater. 16:40. Rodriguez can't help but wonder. 16:43. Is this yet another case of propeller failure on an Embraer 120? 46. We need to examine those propeller blades closely. 16:5. It was crucial that we determine. 16:52. Whether the blades were still intact when the aircraft hit the ground. Dramatic score intensifies. 9:03. Narrator. Rodriguez begins analyzing the blade fragment. 10:06. Looking for signs of mid-air failure. 17. Evan. If the blades were spinning at impact. 17:14. They would have struck the ground with immense force. 17. Leaving behind distinctive damage. 17:25. This is classic impact damage. 17:27. That propeller was still turning until the moment of impact. 17:30. Narrator. The results are definitive. 17:32. The blades didn't fail in mid-air. 17:34. They only shattered upon crashing. By 17:39. Meanwhile, nearly 6,000 miles away, Air China Flight 129 has been flying for just under 2 hours. 17:45. Among the 155 passengers on board, 17:49, is a group of South Korean tourists returning home from vacation. 17:52. Their tour guide is 28-year-old Seol Ik-soo. 17:56. Speaking Korean. 17:59. Translator. I had just started a new job. 18 Do. My wife was 4 months pregnant at the time. 18:11 Do. There were about 20 people traveling with our agency. 18:15. I had a lot on my mind, a lot of responsibilities. 18:20. I still can't believe what happened that day.